What's up, everybody? This is Josh coming to you with another episode of the Affiliate Marketing Show. Please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest affiliate marketing news, tips, and trends. Once again, Josh, myself from OfferVault.com, the industry's largest aggregator of all things affiliate marketing. Whether you're a newbie just getting started or an industry veteran looking to stay on top of what's hot, make sure you check out OfferVault.com. Normally, we have the industry legend Harrison Gevirtz and Mr. Papercall Adam Young. I do not know if they'll be joining us today, but who needs them when you have a special guest like Matthew Stafford, founder of Build, Grow, Scale, a company dedicated to driving business growth and helping you reach new levels of success, primarily through e-commerce. What's up, Matt? How are we doing?
I'm doing well. Glad to be on the show. Looking forward to this.
I gotta be honest, it took every ounce of being in my body not to introduce you as the starting quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams. I'm sure you
Yeah.
get that all the time. First question wasn't on the agenda, but what's that like?
Yeah, so I'll give you a quick story. I wouldn't have ever written it if it didn't happen. I'm from Michigan and I still have a Michigan phone number. And so
For those of you
when
that
he
don't
was
know, Matthew Stafford was the starting quarterback of the Detroit Lions for a long time.
Yeah, for his entire career. And then I moved to LA and 6 months later he was traded to the Rams and then won the
Dude,
Super Bowl.
the guy just won't leave you alone. It's
So
crazy.
when I leave my name and then my phone number, which is a Michigan number, typically within 15 to 30 minutes, the owner will call me.
Oh yeah,
And it
dude.
was it was pretty standard because I lived about 15 minutes from him in LA. I was north of LA in Thousand Oaks area, and so he was right in that area too. And so when they would get Matthew Stafford with a Michigan number, they all made the assumption that I was the quarterback.
I'm assuming you're the original Matthew Stafford,
Yeah,
though.
yeah, I'm quite a bit older than him. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you were the one who started it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw, whoever reached out to me about getting you on the show, I was like, what? Yeah. I was like, yeah, all right. So I know you're not the quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams, but I'm excited to talk to you nonetheless. Basically because of what you specialize in and what you're, most known for, which is, or some of which is scaling, acquisition strategies, building companies. I think it's all extremely important to any industry, especially the affiliate marketing space, as well as the marketing space in general. So this is a super loaded question, but when it comes to, scaling a business, trying to get it to a certain level to become acquired, what are like the first, what's like the mindset, a business owner should have to really take it from conception to like an exit?
Well, I always default to the website. I think the website is your conversation with your customer that is working for you 24/7. And if it does a good job at communicating, then it's going to land a lot more business for you. And obviously, when people are looking to exit and be acquired, the systems and processes that are in place, if they're solid and they're working well, that's going to make you a lot more attractive. And what I mean by that is if you look at typical websites, especially in to the D2C space, it's 2% conversion. So that means for every 100 visitors that you send to your site, you get two or three sales. And my theory always was like that just it feels broken. Everybody wanted to get another 100 visitors so they could get another two or three sales. And I thought I had 100 people raise their hand and only two or three people bought. I'm gonna go get two or three more of those 97 that left and double my business on the same amount of ad spend. And if I can do that, then I can buy traffic at scale because none of my competitors are getting the same number of sales for the same traffic. And that's allowed us for the last 9 years to predictably go in, and scale these sites to record numbers for even, it still surprises me. We have one, um, they did 1 million their first 13 months. They did 13 million the second 12 months. They did 36 million the third, and now they're on pace to do around 65 this year. So it's like, if you get it right, you can dominate your space. And so for me, I always think more customers makes you more sellable.
So having a better website, like that's great, right? Everybody wants that. In your opinion and from your experience, like what actually makes a website better? Is it just like the front-facing UI? Is it like the actual usability? Is it the copy that's on it? Is it a combination of everything? Like the
Yeah.
best websites you've seen convert and, stick around for the long haul, like what are some of the common traits that you see they all have together?
Yeah, that's a loaded question for
Yeah,
sure.
I love loaded questions on
I
this show.
think websites are contextual. And what I mean by that is, one demographic is going to respond different than another demographic. So you can't look at a site that's killing it, that's selling shoes, and you maybe sell glasses and go, oh, okay, well, I'm going to do what they're doing on the shoes and I'm going to replicate it. Because one might be for people with poor eyesight or older people or, a different age demographic. And so all of that factors into it. But there's for sure what we would consider best practices and principles that work on every website that just like we say, clarity trumps persuasion. And what I mean by that is the majority of the time, the big wins we get in the beginning is actually removing stuff from people's websites. Because over time, people think like, oh, more is better. And really, more is worse. It creates the paradox of choice or it creates unanswered questions. And that's why if someone wants a product that you sell, they raise their hand, they come to your site and then leave. There's only a couple of reasons why they left. One, maybe they don't trust the site or don't trust you, or they have unanswered questions. Otherwise, if you're selling a good product, why wouldn't they buy it from you? And so, going through and making sure that it's very clear and that it's really clean matters more than showing them every offering that you have.
Do you typically recommend like people work with a marketing agency or like someone that specializes in that type of thing? Or is there pretty much enough stuff out there where people can really find out what they need just by doing their own research?
Yeah, so we give tons of free resources because for us to work with a company, they got to be doing about 100, 200K a month or more. And so we want to help people get to that level so that they could be future clients. So we give a ton of information on our website and our blog and different programs that we do to help them do a lot of that so they can grow up and get to the point where they could, use a bigger agency to scale their systems.
So I know something, you specialize in, which I mentioned in the intro, is e-commerce, especially e-commerce optimization. I mean, I saw it on your LinkedIn, your website. I think it was mentioned in the introductory email I got, but something along the lines of 400 million in e-commerce sales. Can you elaborate on that? What it actually means, how you got to that point, and then we can kind of talk about how you feel e-commerce is best optimized.
Yeah, and we actually stopped counting about 4 years ago. So I figured after you get 400 million through the carts that you've optimized, um, the number doesn't. I mean, if I said
It's just
700
rude. You're just
million,
showing off at that
yeah,
point.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
in all reality, most people don't even understand what 400 million is, and so it sounds cool, but that's it's the reason why we put that there is just, hey, we've had a lot of experience and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of data points to analyze in order to get good at it. And so what we mean by that is the stores that we've went in and optimized as we've done that, the amount of sales that come through their carts, we're tracking that and we're always trying to improve it. And that's really where we've come up with a set of best practices. And I'll share a couple that anybody that has a website could do, regardless of what you sell, that would make a huge difference for you.
Yeah, I would love for you to dive into a few of the best practices on how to optimize a cart, a store, a funnel, what have you, um, that are kind of maybe, you know, vertical proof or that can kind
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
work for anyone.
Yeah, I'll give you one that I share with everybody. And it was really funny. I was at a mastermind last week, and the lady was a high ticket closer, and she was giving a talk. And she actually said that she had heard what I'm about to share, and she gave me credit for it. But she was using it to actually optimize their funnels for their sales team. And when I share it with you, you'll understand. But so on the thank you page, right after somebody buys, we put a little pop up and we ask a question. And the question is, what was the one thing that almost made you not buy? And they will tell you what they didn't understand, what was confusing, what was clunky, where there was friction, and then you take their responses and you go back through your website or your sales funnel and you fix that. And I can tell you that in the last 3 or 4 years, probably 6 of our 10 biggest wins came from the feedback from someone who has just bought. They want to see you succeed. They've just given you money. They don't want to think that you're not gonna be around. And so they feel invested in helping you. And when they do that, they give you really good advice.
Would you be able to share like any of the advice you got from that question, or maybe just like one or two that stood out, that really helped you get those big deals or
Sure.
secure future
Sure.
business?
Yeah. So one, we put it on, they had a VSL. And so we put that on right after they bought. And we got about 500, 400 or 500 responses. And like 420 of them all said the video is too long. So it was overwhelming. It's not typically that strong of a signal. But so we told the owner, we're like, hey, listen, this is what they're saying. We got to figure out a way to shorten the video. And they're like, we can't. Like, we've tried multiple versions. This one, no shorter video ever does converts as high. And so I just asked him, I said, what speed do you watch your videos on? And he's like, oh yeah, we watch them like 1.2 or 1.5. I said, why don't we try that? Why don't we give them the ability to speed it up? Because so many of them were complaining about it. And so we did that. We got a 10% lift. And
Wow.
they do about 60 million a year. So it's about a $6 million win from speeding the video up, getting them about a 10% lift on their cart.
Do you feel a lot of people do speed the video up? The only reason I asked that is because like my toddler was watching a YouTube video and he accidentally sped the video up and I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot that like that's a thing." Like do you find
Oh yeah,
a
I
lot of
watch
people
that. I
use
always
do
do.
you?
Yeah, I
Okay.
always do. Yeah.
Like I know people sometimes do with like podcasts and stuff like that or
Audible and
audiobooks.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, exactly. Wow, that's crazy. So just speeding up the video a little
yeah.
or giving them the option to speed up
Given
the
the
video.
option so that they thought it was too long, they could listen to it a little faster and go through it and still make the decision.
I'm assuming if you have I guess you could call it a miniature billboard on your wall that says nothing, if nothing changes, nothing changes, then it probably means something to you. That's a phrase I love, and I've heard it a lot of different facets of my life. Like, what does that mean to you, and what like personal experience in your life can you kind of identify to that?
Yeah, I actually just made a social post today. I think um, most people have the perception that change creates tension. And I don't think that's true. I think us thinking that things stay the same is actually what creates the
So
tension
it's
because
all
it is
about
always changing.
detachment,
Yeah.
right?
And so for
Yeah.
me, nothing changes just means like I need to look at myself each and every day and understand that I'm either falling behind or I'm staying the same or I'm growing. And so for me, I'm not trying to look for equilibrium because I don't think that exists.
Yeah, one of my favorite Buddha quotes is change isn't scary, only resistance to change is scary. Something
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, but something along those lines.
Yeah.
Speaking of posts that you do. I know you're pretty active on LinkedIn and you've got some great stuff on there. We'll definitely include a link in the description of this video. But I think one of the things I came across when I was looking on there was, a prompt that basically says like how to figure out what your customer really wants. I feel like that's, a mindset or a process you could really go a thousand directions in. But, being the guy who kind of specializes in figuring that out, how do you figure out what your customer really wants? I'm assuming there's probably multiple ways to do that. So what are some of your favorite ways to do that, or some tricks people watching this episode or listening could actually apply to like their business in a real world example?
Yeah, so we're very data driven, and I will say AI is starting to change a lot of what we do, and so I'm going to share something that we've been doing recently that's had really good results for our client stores. Um, we take all of the reviews and we plug them into ChatGPT and we play with that and ask it to look for the consistencies or the threads that maybe that wouldn't stand out or that no humans ever identified. We give it a couple different phrases like that that get it to think out of. It's not trying to get us a standard answer, but something that's out of the ordinary. And we came across one just this week where we had also put in all of the Shopify reports and like Lifetimely and several other things. And what we noticed was when the products were shipped out within 48 hours, they had a 72% higher lifetime value than if the product was shipped the third and fourth day. And then it dropped another like 18% if it was over 5 days. So when we looked at that, it was almost 40% of the lifetime value was lost if the product wasn't shipped out in 48 hours, which we would have never done. We just would have never found that in, the mountains of data, and AI was able to pick it out, that and several other things. And so now you go in and you realize like, wow, if we can get 40% more times, all of our customers' lifetime value by getting it out in 48 hours, that feels like a big priority that's going to make a difference, that's going to move the needle.
I gotta say, if something's taken longer than 48 hours to ship to me, I'm definitely off that train, dude. I mean, with
Yeah,
Amazon
yeah,
now,
we're
it's
we're
like,
conditioned by Amazon
oh
so
my
bad.
God. Dude, I bought some sneakers off of StockX recently, which is like a new thing that I've gotten into. Uh, and like it takes 1 to 2 weeks because like they send the shoe to some warehouse to be verified, then they send it to you. And I was like, I'm going crazy, dude. Because like, I'm so used to getting it the next day or 2 days max. So
Yeah, our guy that did the analysis, he goes, as soon as I read it, I was like, oh yeah, that's totally true. He goes, I ordered something the other day. It's been 4 days and I already emailed him. Like, where's my stuff?
yeah, dude, it's crazy, man. It's like you don't even realize what it used to be. Like, do you find any stores that, do take 4 or 5 days to ship a product still are able to have success? Or is it like really a case by case basis? Because I'm assuming like if you buy something, it's coming from overseas, your mindset might be a little more open to waiting versus like if you buy assuming it's in house or
Yeah,
it's
we're
in the
pretty
States at
fortunate.
least.
A lot of our big clients they manufacture right here in the United States, which has been good. Even I think we only lost one client from the tariffs because, when you hike stuff up 140% and changes their metrics a little bit. Um, but I know we haven't had too much trouble with that, and I really don't think there's gonna be. Uh, and the reason why I say that is people don't mind if you manage their expectations. If you don't point out that it's going to take longer than 2 days, then they're going to automatically assume it won't. But if you tell them it ships within 7 days, and you make that clear, it tends to make a much bigger difference. And the ones that are a little longer, we typically throw in an email flow too, that like 2, 3 days out that says, "Hey, this is where we're at, and this is what we're
Yeah.
doing. If you have any questions, just." And that communication alone
Yeah.
made a huge
Oh,
difference
I'm sure.
customer satisfaction and inquiries.
Yeah, I feel like knowledge is power, you know. I was involved in like a Indiegogo or a Kickstarter for this like thing, and it was like, we'll have it ready to you in 6 months. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, cool, I'll forget I even bought it. But like every 3 to 4 weeks, hey, here's where we're at. We're just figuring out the design. Hey, we're finally getting our, stuff on the boat. Like, you know, had it been like, hey, we'll send this to you when it's ready, I would have freaked out. 6 months goes by, but the fact
Right.
that they kept me in the loop was awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of Amazon, I want to talk to you about returns, right?
Yeah.
So something else I saw on your LinkedIn, I believe, was, kind of taking on the mindset that like returns aren't losses. They're basically a huge learning opportunity, which I think on a surface level, everyone would be like, well, yeah, I get that. But can you kind of dive into like how you actually use returns to kind of gain insights? I guess it goes back to figuring out what the customers really want. Like, how do you kind of take it a step further than just saying, oh, like they didn't like it?
Yeah, I would tell you, um, those are the best people to actually get a hold of and talk to. And most people don't, they avoid it. And in all reality, those are the ones that will tell you why and will give you a lot of pointers as to how you can stop the return or the number of returns. I will say, people ask me all the time, what is the consistent thing across these successful brands that we work with? And I will tell you that the one thing that never fails, the people that win and that have won for the last 8, 10 years that we've worked with, they always have like just great, great customer service. They don't make it hard to return something. They don't try to hide those boxes. They don't make it hard to unsubscribe. Like they care about the customer experience more than getting that every last dollar out of it. And they end up making way more money because of that. When other people are like, "Oh yeah, I don't want to give them a 90-day guarantee because somebody's going to take advantage of that." And the truth of the matter is, so many people more will buy because you have a 90-day guarantee than the people that are going to take advantage of wanting their money back.
A quote that I saw you also posted, which is unfortunate that my co-hosts aren't here because they would dive into this deep with you, but it's success isn't about never failing. It's about refusing to stop. Um, that obviously makes a lot of sense, especially for anyone who's, worked hard to get to where they are. Um, can you kind of dive into that, what it means to you, what your mindset is to that, and maybe some stops along your journey where you actually considered stopping, but you powered through and got to where you are now?
Yeah, I think a lot of people give up right at the point of success because typically um, that's when it is the hardest. It's right before you break through and you haven't seen the results from it yet. And I don't think that it means that you just put your head down and never stop because you might be pushing in the wrong direction. What I would say is a lot of the older I've gotten, the less hard lessons I had to learn on my own. I realized the value of mentors. And so I would say, yeah, like if you're getting in business to think that it's going to be easy, then you're probably going to be disappointed because I don't know anyone that's successful at business that doesn't say it's hard, and that's just the choice that you make. I think that business is the ultimate inner game. Like every day when you're growing, your business is going to show you where you're not enough, or where you're not showing up, or where there's breakage in your systems. And so, really, a good business owner is someone who solves problems. And so, if you have zero problems, then they don't need you. You want, the bigger the problem, the bigger the reward. And so that requires, I think, some persistence and sticking with it.
So I was going to ask, going back to e-commerce and stores, right? If I was to ask you like what vertical you would recommend people get into, you'd say e-commerce, right? But if I said, okay, but like what sub-vertical within e-commerce, if someone's trying to open a store online, do you find that like there's a certain category within the e-commerce world that's consistently killing it long term? And on the flip side, something that is like really hot right now.
Yeah, one thing that I would say that I've seen consistently over the last 10 years is the pet niche. Um, Works really well, and the people are very strong buyers. In fact, I've actually done a lot of research because it really intrigued me. Like, why do people spend so much on their pets and almost to the point where it's overly emotional. And I think this gets into another a totally different subject, but I really truly believe that people's pets are one of the only places where they get true unconditional love. And
Hmm.
so, being in the pet niche, if you're doing a good job and you have quality products for these animals, these people legitimately care about them, as much as their kids. If they'll spend more money on their pets than their kids, because a lot of times their kids aren't excited to see them come home, but that pet's always excited.
Yeah. Yeah, my kids are young enough where they still are, so I'm trying to
Yeah,
hold on to
yeah,
that.
yeah.
If you were to go a step further into the pet niche, like, do you find it's toys? Is it beds? Is it food? Because I know that's like a hot thing I see a lot of advertising for now, like the high-end dog food, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
really, to be totally honest, I don't see a part of the patent industry that isn't doing
mm,
well. We have a couple of clients over the years. One of them literally only sold harnesses and did millions and millions and millions of dollars a year in just harnesses. Could have offered a lot of other products, didn't need to. Just one product and did it better than everyone else and literally sold, just an enormous amount of them. So if you do a good job, the market is huge. It's very easy to carve out your niche in there and do very well at it.
Sorry if this next question is a stupid one or an obvious one, but do some of your stores exist within the Amazon marketplace, or are they all their own freestanding e-commerce store, or do you
Yeah,
have a
great
little bit of
question.
both?
Yeah, so a little bit of both. Typically, the stores that we have, they have a presence on Amazon, but it's not very big. Amazon, the Amazon listings tend to cannibalize the store. So it's more or less there because what will happen is people will find your brand, they'll go, oh, okay, I like this. Then they'll go see if it's on Amazon. And if it
Right,
is, they'll just buy it there.
right,
So
right.
that kind of messes up our numbers as far as knowing if it's converting well or not, but we can see that and we allow for it. But we also have a lot of people who are on Amazon and know that that's like they don't own anything and Amazon can shut them down at any time,
Right.
but then come to us and want to build a store, to have the consumer facing data as well.
What do you think are some of the pros to buying direct from, the actual e-commerce store as opposed to going through a platform like Amazon?
That I think that that's again very contextual on who
Mm,
owns the site and does that. Typically, because they have to compete and there's so many fees associated with Amazon, they would prefer you buy it from their store. And so in that regard, you're probably going to get it a little bit cheaper. You are going to deal a lot of times with the owners, not dealing with Amazon's system. And yeah, and I think people want to support the smaller business too, and they see that Amazon is kind of like that big behemoth that doesn't really
hmm.
care.
No, I would have to agree with all that. So the last question I have for you, and I know you love loaded questions, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Say I'm opening my own e-commerce store or just my own business, right? How do I grow that to $10 million in revenue? I'm sure it's a very short, easy answer. So, what would be your steps, your first one, two, three steps to really get me on the right path? I guess is a better way to kind of consolidate it.
Yep. So I would, number one, I would try to figure out what kind of recurring element that you could create in there. Like what's something that you could offer that they would be consumable or they would want to use it every, every month or every 2, 3 months. I would figure out what the average order value could be and how we would get it over $100 because in order to be able to scale, you're going to want to be able to spend money on ads, and ads are more expensive. They continue to get a little more expensive, and so typically, you're going to want to be in that 120 to $150 range and have some sort of subscription element. If you have those, I believe that you could build the business, and do well at that.
Well, Matthew Stafford, not the quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams, but the founder of Build, Grow, Scale. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. For myself, Josh from OfferVault, as well as Matthew Stafford, founder of Build, Grow, Scale. Let's make that paper. Let's make that dough. This was the Affiliate Marketing Show. We will see you next time.